A blind K-9 was scheduled to be put down, his years of service dismissed in an instant. But when his officer walked into the courtroom and revealed a shocking secret about his partner, everything changed. What followed stunned the judge, silenced the crowd, and brought the room to tears. Before we start, make sure to hit like, share, and subscribe. And really, I'm curious, where are you watching from? Drop your country name in the comments. I love seeing how far our stories travel. Officer Daniel Hayes had worn the badge for nearly a decade, but he often admitted that he never truly felt complete until Rex entered his life. Rex, a German shepherd with sharp amber eyes and unmatched focus, wasn't just trained for the job, he was born for it. From their very first mission together, it became clear they shared something deeper than a handler-dog relationship. Rex anticipated Daniel's every move, responding to unspoken cues as though they shared the same heartbeat. Whether chasing suspects through dark alleys or sniffing out hidden contraband, Rex never faltered. But outside of duty, Rex's devotion shone even brighter. He waited by the door each evening, tail wagging the moment Daniel returned home. He comforted him through long nights after dangerous shifts, resting his head gently on Daniel's knee as if to remind him he wasn't alone. To Daniel, Rex was more than a partner in uniform. He was family. Their bond, forged through loyalty and sacrifice, would soon face the greatest test either of them could have imagined. The call had come on a rainy night, a burglary in progress at an abandoned warehouse. Daniel and Rex responded without hesitation, their partnership seamless as always. The rain pounded against the pavement as they entered the darkened building, the echoes of their footsteps mixing with Rex's steady breathing. Inside, the air smelled of rust and oil. Rex's ears twitched, his body tense, and then he lunged forward, barking furiously. In that instant, chaos erupted. A suspect swung a heavy metal pipe, striking the side of Rex's head before Daniel could react. The sound of the blow made Daniel's heart stop. Rex yelped, but didn't back down. Even half-blinded, he lunged again, knocking the suspect off balance long enough for Daniel to make the arrest. But as the cuffs clicked shut, Daniel turned and saw Rex stumble, his eyes clouded, his once bright gaze fading. By the time backup arrived, Daniel was on his knees, clutching Rex, whispering desperately, "Stay with me, buddy." The tragedy had struck in seconds, and nothing would ever be the same. The days following the warehouse incident were filled with uncertainty. Rex survived the surgery, but the damage was permanent. He was now completely blind. Daniel visited him daily at the clinic, sitting beside the kennel, whispering words of comfort as Rex leaned into his voice, tail thumping faintly despite the darkness. But outside that room, the conversations were far colder. The department convened to discuss Rex's future. To them, a blind K-9 was no longer fit for service. Medical expenses were mounting, and policy dictated that injured service dogs without adoption prospects were to be euthanized. The word alone made Daniel's stomach twist. He pleaded with his superiors, arguing that Rex still had purpose, that his spirit, his instincts, were untouched by blindness. But his words were met with silence and sympathetic nods. The paperwork for Rex's euthanasia was drawn up. Daniel walked out of that meeting with trembling hands and fire in his chest. They saw a burden, but he saw his partner. And he wasn't about to let Rex's story end this way. When petitions and private pleas failed, Daniel did the unthinkable. He took Rex's case to court. The courtroom buzzed with murmurs as people packed the benches, drawn by whispers of the blind K-9 whose fate would be decided by law. At the front, Rex sat quietly by Daniel's side, his bandaged eyes hidden, but his ears alert, responding to every sound of his partner's voice. The prosecutor argued that resources were limited, that Rex's blindness rendered him unfit for duty. The words stung like daggers. To them, Rex was just a statistic, a cost, a liability. Daniel's fists clenched beneath the table as he struggled to stay composed. When it was his turn, Daniel stood tall, his voice thick with emotion. He spoke of every mission Rex had led, every life saved, every moment when his courage had tipped the balance between life and death. He reminded the court that loyalty doesn't vanish with sight. The room fell silent as Daniel placed a trembling hand on Rex's head. "He is not broken," he said firmly. "He is my partner, and he deserves to live." The judge leaned forward, her gaze sharp. Officer Hayes, passion is admirable, but what makes you believe this dog can still serve any purpose? Daniel took a deep breath, his hand steadying on Rex's fur. Because blindness doesn't erase instinct, he said firmly. Then, he pulled a small object from his pocket, a metal casing from a training exercise. He placed it on the floor, several feet away. The courtroom watched in silence as Daniel gave a single command. Find. Rex's ears twitched, his nose lifted, and despite the bandages covering his eyes, he moved with confidence. Step by step, he followed the invisible trail until his paw touched the casing. He lowered his head and nudged it toward Daniel, tail wagging proudly. Gasps filled the room. Even those who had doubted leaned forward, eyes wide in disbelief. Daniel's voice broke as he spoke again. Rex doesn't need sight to serve. His instincts are sharper than ever. Blind or not, he still saves lives. He saved mine countless times. And he deserves the chance to keep living. For a moment, the courtroom was utterly silent. Then, like a wave breaking, whispers filled the air. People leaned toward one another, eyes wide, voices trembling with awe. A few gasped aloud, and one woman in the gallery wiped away tears, whispering, "He can still do it, even blind." The prosecutor shifted uneasily, shuffling papers that suddenly felt meaningless. The judge's expression softened, her gaze fixed on Rex, who now sat proudly at Daniel's feet. His ears perked as though he sensed the impact of what he had just proven. Daniel's voice cracked as he continued. "You call him unfit. But this dog, my partner, has instincts that no human can match. He may have lost his sight, but he hasn't lost his purpose. Please don't let bureaucracy take away the life he's already earned." Applause erupted from the back of the room, quickly silenced by the gavel, but the emotion hung thick in the air. The jury members exchanged glances, visibly moved. For the first time, the scales had shifted. Rex wasn't a liability anymore. He was a living testament to courage. The judge raised her hand, silencing the murmurs that still rippled through the courtroom. For a long moment, she studied Rex, sitting obediently by Daniel's side, his blind eyes hidden but his posture proud. The weight of the decision seemed to hang in the air, pressing down on everyone present. "Officer Hayes," she began, her voice measured but touched with emotion. "This court has heard arguments on both sides. We've seen proof that while this K9 has lost his sight, he has not lost his spirit. The law may speak of practicality, but justice must also speak of compassion." Daniel's chest tightened as he held his breath. "I cannot, in good conscience, allow this dog to be put down," the judge declared firmly. "He is to be retired with honors and remain in the custody of Officer Hayes, who has clearly demonstrated his willingness to provide lifelong care." Tears filled Daniel's eyes as relief crashed over him. He knelt beside Rex, whispering, "You're safe, partner. You're coming home." The courtroom erupted into applause, many wiping away tears at the ruling that honored loyalty over policy. As the gavel struck, the tension that had gripped the courtroom melted into relief. Daniel stood, his hand trembling as he rested it on Rex's head. The German shepherd tilted his face upward, tail thumping lightly against the floor, as though he understood he had just been given back his future. Outside the courthouse, the afternoon sun bathed them in light. Reporters gathered, cameras flashing, but Daniel ignored them all. He knelt beside Rex, pulling him close. "You're not just my partner," he whispered. "You're my hero." Passers-by stopped, some applauding, others simply watching with tears in their eyes. They hadn't just witnessed a legal decision. They had witnessed a bond so unbreakable it moved an entire room. As Daniel guided Rex down the courthouse steps, the dog walked confidently, trusting his partner to lead the way. And in that moment, it didn't matter that Rex could no longer see, because love and loyalty had given him vision stronger than sight. Together, they walked forward, a living testament to devotion that defied every obstacle.